Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm 12 Kyle. Check this out. On this podcast, we're going to take it back down memory lane, man. I was driving around the other day, right? And I was just kind of, riding through my subdivision, and I kind of noticed something. I mean, it was a nice day. Sun was out. It was probably about, 77 degrees. So, nice weather, not too hot, not too cold. Definitely warm enough to be outside, right? And as I'm riding through the subdivision, I don't see any kids outside, at all. I don't see any kids outside at all. I don't see any kids outside until I pull up in my driveway and my sons are outside playing basketball, right? And so it just got me to thinking, there are no kids out here playing any type of sports or anything. And it just got me to thinking, when I was a kid, there'd be no way that it would be a 77 degree day and we're not outside doing something. So it got me to thinking about, some of the outdoor childhood games we would play. So yeah, that's what I want to talk about. Outdoor childhood games. I'll give you some that I played, and then, some of the ones that I probably didn't play, but it was from that era. I think when you think about outdoor childhood games, I think the most obvious thing that you have to recognize is the fact that, particularly if you came up in a certain era, like before the internet, there was one place that you wanted to be, and that was outside, because what was outside? Everything. Your friends, everything was outside. There was nothing that you wanted to be inside for. Now, don't get me wrong, we had video games, we had board games and stuff like that, but there's nothing doper than, you're sitting in a house and you hear somebody outside, you hear other kids playing outside, and, automatically you're going to want to go outside and play with them. You're not going to want to get on your cell phone and walk around and FaceTime. But again, different era. We didn't have the technology. So, outside childhood games were very important to us because that was everything, because again, everything happened outside. Very little of what you did happened inside. And, depending on, where you lived, you probably couldn't have all of your friends in your house. So if your friends came over, you were probably going to have to go outside anyway, because more often than not, your folks not going to let you have a bunch of people in the house. That's just not going to happen, right? Because they're going to tear up stuff, they're going to make a mess, they're going to funk it up, and then they're going to go home, and then you're going to be stuck to clean up everything. So most of the stuff had to happen outside. So some of the games that I'm going to talk about, particularly some of the ones that I played coming up, really depended on where you lived, depended on what part of the country you lived in. So that you might get a different game. Some are just universal, but I just wanted to kind of run down a few, and then some of the more popular ones from back in the day. I think probably the most influential game to me when I was a young buck was obviously tackle football. So that was the thing, because that playing tackle football with my friends was the place outside that, allowed me to develop my skills, but also a love for the game. And I think, that's where it all started. I started playing organized football at the age of 8. And then I played through, middle school, high school, and ultimately through college at South Carolina State University. So, and I'm a huge football fan. I mean, if you've listened to the podcast, you've heard me say before, football is my first love. But it developed outside playing with my friends. So, yeah, I would, hone my skills, if you will. One of the games within tackle football that we used to play, we used to call it Kill the Man with the Ball. And that's pretty much what it was. It was kill the man with the ball. And how that goes is, like, let's say you got 10 people, right? You got 10 people and one person gets the ball, and it's their job to try to score against 9 other people, which is virtually impossible. But we did it anyway. I think that game taught me a lot as far as like just really knowing how to, and this is gonna sound crazy, but knowing how to get tackled. Like, you don't really know how to get tackled until someone actually tackles you, because there's a certain way that you need to fall, particularly if people are falling on top of you, because if not, you're going to get yourself hurt. And I think playing Kill the Man with a football was something that allowed me to learn how to get tackled, learn how to fall, and then also you develop your moves. I was pretty quick, pretty fast, so it would be rare for someone to kind of catch me and 3 or 4 dudes hit me. No, you maybe 1 or 2 gonna hit me, but not 3 or 4. So and then I wasn't the biggest dude, so that always helped too. So yeah, Kill the Man with the Ball. What was another childhood outdoor game? Racing. We just called it racing. We would race any and everything. And what I mean by that is that it's just a foot race. And what I always found interesting was, like, there was always some type of badge of honor, if you will, for the person who was the fastest. So if you were the fastest person in your neighborhood, it was always dope because you got props, for one. And for 2, if there was ever anybody that come over from the next neighborhood, like, let's say, I don't know, they might, the neighborhood next to mine might come over to play football or whatever, and they say, oh yeah, well, we got Johnny's fast. And my boys would be like, well, we got Kyle's fast. And the first thing that someone would say was, I bet you Johnny ain't faster than Kyle. And so after that, it's on. We got a race. So, stand about, 40 yards apart. And now we've got a dash going. We've got a race. We got a foot race to the end where I have to run against Johnny. And, I'm not bragging or nothing, but, I ain't lose. But yeah, that was fun, man. That was always fun to race. Like I said, we would just call it racing because we would race any and everything. And I think one of the things that, really stood out to me, particularly about, my childhood, was that we became, unbeknownst to us, we became very competitive at a very young age. I mean, everything was competition. Like, if you played against somebody, you wanted to beat them. If you beat them one day, you wanted to beat them the next day. And if they beat you, you wanted to play them again until you won. So it was like, we didn't even know it, but, we were developing these really, really competitive streaks back then. So yeah, racing on foot was very, very popular. Now, this next game, probably, I'm willing to bet, probably 0% of you did. We used to, when I lived in the apartment complex, We used to call it the projects. We would race popsicle sticks. I know what you think. How do you raise popsicle sticks? Well, what we would do was we would get popsicle sticks. Obviously you get your little ice cream or whatever. You got your popsicle sticks, right? So we would come outside after it stopped raining. And because like where we live in the projects, there was like kind of like a little incline, a little hill or whatever like that. So the water would drain down the street basically. And so we would get to the street and we would take our popsicle sticks. And I got my popsicle stick. Mike has his popsicle stick. And so we put our popsicle stick in the water because the water, again, is draining from the street because it just rained. And we would watch the popsicle sticks, go down the street. And, if you won, you won. I don't know what we took from that. I don't know how you could have a faster popsicle stick than the other person. But yeah, that's what we did. But yeah, we used to race anything. We used to get on our bikes and race. Everything was, like I said, it was about a competition. What was another game? Oh, King of the Hill. We literally had a hill, a dirt hill, and King of the Hill is just that. You stand on top of the hill and everybody's got to try to take you down, and they got to take you off the hill. And King of the Hill, because the hill that we played on was pretty much, it's kind of weird to describe it. It was some grass around it, but it was mostly dirt. Like anytime you play King of the Hill, you were going to be dirty. So you wanted to make sure that you were in your play clothes. Shout out to play clothes. I wish I had time to talk about play clothes, because there was a difference between your school clothes and your play clothes. Nonetheless, so yeah, when you play King of the Hill, you wanted to be in your play clothes and you wanted to because you're going to get dirty. But, if it's, I don't know, 7 of you guys, then it's like, and it just depends. You might take people 1-on-1, or you might take them, 2-on-1. It just depends. But they had to get you off the hill. And, man, we ended up mad dirty all the time from King of the Hill. What was another game we used to play? Okay, this next game, only specific to probably my hometown, because anywhere I've gone in the world, I've asked people about this game and nobody knows what it is. We used to play this game called Roly Poly. Okay, I know, don't laugh. Okay, the best way that I could describe it, right? You get a tennis ball, you got a bat, you got a tennis ball. And so it's almost like baseball, but it's kind of like a ghetto version of baseball. So you would pitch me the ball, I hit the ball, and wherever the ball was caught or stopped, the opposing team has to get the ball. And then I have to put the bat down on the plate, home plate. And the person who got the ball, like let's say if they got the ball, I don't know, 20 feet away, they would have to get the ball and they'd have to roll the ball to the plate to try to hit the bat. Now, if the ball hit the bat, then my team would have to switch sides and we'd have to go into the outfield and they'd have to come into the infield so that they could hit. And you basically advance players around the bases, if you will, just like baseball. But, that was the way of getting people out. And so if you could hit the bat 3 times, then you got an out. You got an out, you had to get 3 outs and then, you would switch sides. But so it's a ghetto version of baseball, and we used to play it when I lived in the projects all the time, but it was so much fun, man. And one of the great things about playing Roly Poly was, 2 places you could play. You could either play in the street or you could play in the grass. Playing in the street was tricky because you had a tennis ball. Again, you're rolling a tennis ball in the street. So particularly if you're not playing on a well-paved street, a tennis ball is going to bounce around. So being able to get out was like, it was tough. Or you could play in the grass, and the same thing, if your grass is cut and well maintained, then you might have a better chance at doing it. But the grass really, it got cut sometimes, so it just depends. So you weren't always going to be able to get people out playing roly poly. But those were some great games, and it's funny because, again, in my travels in life, you start talking about childhood games. Nobody's ever heard of roly poly. Only the people that I grew up with. And to be honest, it might be some shit that we made up. I don't know. I would assume so at this age, because I'd never heard of it before prior to. And I mean, we played this game when I was little. So, I mean, I'm talking elementary school, middle school. That was the thing. Some of the other popular outdoor games back in the day. Obviously, one of the more popular ones, hide and seek. Self-explanatory. If you were a child that grew up, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, hide and seek was pretty simple. Someone was gonna hide and you had to try to find them. And if you played in an era, or you played in an area, where there was multiple buildings or obstacles and things around where you could actually hide behind trees, that was always dope. What was another one? Hide and seek was always fun. Hide and seek was always fun. One that I played probably once I got to middle school and high school in my neighborhood was Foursquare. Foursquare was so dope. So basically what happens is you get on a court, if you will. We would play in my driveway. And so you would divide the square on the driveway. You make a square on the driveway, and each square we would normally we would use tape. So you make the squares. So you got 4 squares, and you number them 1, 2, and 3. And each player, you'd have a player stand in each square, and you bounce the ball amongst the players. Now, you had to bounce the ball in someone's square before they could catch it. And if they caught it, then you were out. But like if I'm in square number 1, I might knock it to square number 4, and they have to try to get it before it actually, you have to try to catch it. You have to try to basically get the ball in their square before they can catch it. And that was fun, man. That was we had countless arguments about who was winning and who was out in Foursquare. It was another outdoor game, hopscotch. Honestly, I never played hopscotch. Hopscotch to me seemed to be a lot girly, if you will. But if you had chalk, you had time, you could play hopscotch. Hopscotch was very, very popular outside game. It's probably one of the more popular ones when you think about going outside and playing an actual game. What was another one? One of my favorites that I did not do, but I would always watch, jump rope and double dutch. I love double dutch, if for no other reason for the girls, because there was always a dope, cute girl who could double dutch. And you had to have skills to double dutch. To be honest, I still don't know how they did it. But double dutch was the joint, man. I mean, back then, most people who I knew growing up as a child could jump rope. Like anybody can jump rope by yourself. But when you're talking about double dutch and being in sync with someone else and, going fast and stuff, Everybody couldn't do that. What was another one? Jacks. I'm trying to think, did I play? I can't remember ever playing Jacks, but Jacks was another game that was fun to play. I played marbles. We would just do a lot of funny stuff with marbles. Like you would have to, like, we would set up like this little area in the dirt or in the street or on the sidewalk, either way. And like, you would have to roll your marble. Let's say like the cutoff was the edge of the sidewalk. You had to roll your marble as close to the edge of the sidewalk without it going over. And if it went over, you lost a point. But if it got, if you got closest to the edge without it going over, you got a point. And then you would like tally up your points. We would do a lot of different stuff with marbles. Marbles was always fun. And, in my era, every little boy had their own set of marbles. Like you couldn't, if we said, okay, let's play marbles, you couldn't use someone else's marbles. You had to have your own marbles. And you could, that was another thing too. Like we were really, really big on, if your marble was cracked, you couldn't use it. Don't ask why. I guess, because it's probably not going to roll as far. I don't know what, but if you had a crack in your marble, player, you can't play. Red light, green light. Red light, green light, pretty simple. You run, someone yells red light, you stop. Someone yells green light, you go. I don't know. I don't even know who came up with that. But yeah, that was pretty popular, particularly like when we lived in the projects. Red light, green light was always a staple. It was really cool with red light, green light because that was one that the girls would get involved as well. So that was always dope. And that was another thing too, going back to double dutch. At least around my way, I don't really remember a lot of dudes double dutching. It was a different era, and you probably would be called a name or two if you were double dutching, which is not saying that it was right, but that's what it was. I mean, hey, it's the 80s. I don't know what to tell you. Simon Says, very popular back in the day. Pretty simple. One person says Simon Says and starts saying Simon Says, insert action here. Simon Says touch your toes. Simon Says touch your eyeballs. Simon Says touch your arm. Touch your feet. If you touched your feet without Simon telling you to touch your feet, you are out. What was another one? Let's see. Tag. Tag's pretty simple. I mean, tag, you're it. And you never wanted to be the person that was it, because like being it was the worst thing in the world. Tag worked really well for people like myself back in the day who were fast, because one, no one's going to tag you. And if you were ever it, you weren't going to be it for long. Oh man. What's a few more? Red Rover was one that was pretty popular. I didn't play Red Rover. So I really can't tell you what it was. Look it up. But yeah, it was, what's one more? Those hand clapping games. Where the girls clap and say Miss Mary Mac and stuff like that. I didn't do any of that, but it was always dope to see the girls do it. One that we actually played outside. We didn't play this one outside as much, but we definitely played in school. We played it in school outside because they wouldn't let you do it inside the school. Was musical chairs. Basically, you get some kids, you play some music, and you'd have to walk around these chairs. So everybody walks around in a circle, and then when the music stops, you had to sit in a chair. And so they would keep removing chairs each round. So ultimately it would come down to, you and another person and one chair, and whoever was able to push, shove, or maneuver that other person got in that chair and you won the game. So that one was cool. Musical chairs was, like I said, it was something that we did in school, but they made sure that you did it outside because, you might hit your head on a desk or something. But the one thing that was always interesting about musical chairs is almost every time someone played musical chairs, they wanted to fight. They wanted to fight. So yeah, that's about all I got. It was like I said, it was a different era. And, because kids don't really go outside as much and you have technology, and I get it, I'm not crapping on kids that, don't play. But, I think we learned a lot about ourselves. And if nothing else, we learned how to be competitive. We learned how to work with each other. But like, those are just some of the games. And of course, I'm leaving out games like basketball, football, baseball. Those are just, that's regular. But, we learned a lot and we did a lot. And those games, really, really resonated with us. And it, kind of helped define our childhood. And I think we turned out okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm your boy, 12 Kyle. We'll catch you guys next time. 5,000.